Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to look at how it can feel when you feel like you don't belong and ways to deal with it. These feelings may be familiar to all of us. It is quite common to experience feelings of loneliness, alienation, and lack of belonging from time to time. But Stoic philosophy offers a powerful tool for dealing with these feelings. Stoics preach facing the challenges of life and finding inner strength. For them, true peace and happiness are not dependent on external circumstances, but rather on how we manage our own thoughts and reactions. Today we will share with you ways to rediscover a sense of belonging from a Stoic perspective. If you don't feel like you belong or feel lost in your life, don't worry. In this video we will help you find your place with practical suggestions. Let's start if you are ready. Growing up is painful. Change is painful. But not more painful than being stuck in a place where you don't belong. Don't be afraid of growing up slowly. Just be afraid of being stuck where you are. The secret of suffering is to endure it. These words are not a hollow cliché, but reflect the profound wisdom of Dostoevsky, a master of literature who plumbed the depths of human suffering. This wisdom reminds us of the most difficult feeling in the world, the gnawing ache of not belonging. Because if you were to ask Dostoevsky what the most difficult feeling in the world is, he would probably answer you as follows. The hardest feeling in the world is the obligation to be in a place where you don't feel you belong. Imagine yourself trapped in a life that feels alien to you, a never-ending job, a loveless relationship, forced interactions with people that drain your soul, and the weary knowledge that you have to be there every day. This disconnection can shatter our happiness, leaving us hopeless and alone. You work in a job you don't want because you have to be there. Maybe you are married to someone you don't want and you have to be there every day. You are surrounded by people you don't like, but you have to be in the same environment with them. Tonight you are going to visit someone you don't like at all. You have to be there. We always have to do something, always have to be somewhere. Each time we become exhausted and let our own thoughts attack our soul like piranhas. This feeling of alienation, of looking in from the outside, can be devastating. It can eat away at our self-confidence, make us doubt our worth, and drag us into a spiral of sadness and isolation. But why do we feel this way? What causes us to feel like we don't belong, and how can we change this feeling? Feeling like a misfit is a pain at the core of our being. We humans are social creatures by nature. A sense of belonging is encoded in our DNA. We desire to be understood, valued, and part of something bigger than ourselves. When these needs are not met, a corrosive sadness begins to seep in. We feel different, out of sync, like an alien dropped into the wrong world. It's not just about popularity or having tons of friends. It's about the feeling of being on the same wavelength. It's about seeing your unique essence reflected in those around you and finding the comfort and security of knowing your place in the world. Many things can feed this confusing sense of not belonging. For example, circumstances beyond our control, workplaces, families, friendships, the places we end up, can sometimes feel out of sync with our true nature. Don't judge yourself. Perhaps we are plagued by inner criticism, convincing ourselves that we are not good enough, interesting enough, or worthy of a real connection. Struggling to fit in. Sometimes we change who we are in order to gain approval or belong, resulting in a painful disconnection from our authentic self. Understanding why this sense of disconnection exists is a powerful first step to addressing it. Let's take a deeper journey through the eyes of Stoicists. Stoicism is an ancient Greek philosophy, a toolkit for overcoming life's ups and downs with resilience and inner peace. Stoics like Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and Seneca argued that much of our suffering is not caused by external events, but by the way we perceive and react to them. Through the lens of Stoicism, we can learn to manage our emotions, let go of what we cannot control, and develop an unshakable sense of self even in the midst of the chaos of the world. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe if you're not already subscribed to my channel, and click on the bell icon to be notified of my upcoming videos. Now we can move on to the lessons of the Stoicists. Lesson 1: The Dilemma of Control. Epictetus, himself a former slave, believed that one of the main causes of human suffering is clinging to things beyond our control. He taught us to ask, can I change this situation? Can I influence it? If the answer is no, he advises us to accept it and let it go. Now you might think, but doesn't that mean giving up? No, it doesn't. The point here is not to give up, but to channel our energy. If you're trapped in a toxic workplace, you can't just give up on your coworkers or the work itself. Accept that you may not be able to change it. But what is in your control? Your mindset, your perception. Instead of giving in to despair, you can choose inner strength. Instead of being eaten alive by resentment, you can focus on developing your skills for a smoother exit. Stoics remind us to spend our energy wisely. Fighting external factors that we cannot change drains our strength. This makes us feel even more trapped and hopeless. Lesson 2. Reframe expectations. Life often deviates from the script we envision for ourselves. Think of Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, but his diaries reveal profound meditations on how to overcome dissatisfaction and live virtuously. The Stoics knew that happiness does not depend on external circumstances, but on harmonizing ourselves with reason and nature. How does this apply to feeling alienated? Sometimes our expectation of belonging seamlessly disappoints us. Perhaps we imagine perfect friendships, relationships, or places where we would instantly feel at home. The reality is that no connection or setting is perfect. The Stoics teach us to adjust our expectations, not cynically, but to make room for the complexities of life. This also frees us from the weight of idealizing and constantly comparing our real experiences to imagined better ones. Lesson 3. Developing inner belonging. It may sound strange, but the Stoics believed that the antidote to not belonging on the outside was to belong on the inside. When we anchor ourselves to an internal compass of values, self-knowledge, and rational choices, external circumstances lose their power to shake us to the core. This doesn't mean we don't build connections and communities. These are vital. But it does mean that our basic well-being is not held hostage by them. How can we achieve this? Self-examination, being honest with ourselves about our feelings, journaling to reveal difficult emotions, these are a strong foundation for building this inner belonging. Lesson 4. Make friends with discomfort. Think about that strange drink on the menu. It might be the most delicious thing you've ever tasted. Is that shy coworker? They might share an unexpected passion of yours. When you take risks a little at a time, even if there's a chance of awkwardness, you prove to yourself that you're more resilient than you think. Each time you survive these scary new interactions, the inner voice screaming that you can't do this starts to lose its voice. It's not just about getting rid of the discomfort, it's about savoring the small victories that gradually prove to you that you can overcome the unknown. Let's reframe discomfort as curiosity. Curiosity about that unfamiliar flavor, that classmate whose stories you haven't heard yet. We often tell ourselves, what if it's bad? What if I get rejected? Flip the script. But what if it's surprising? What if this leads to a connection I never expected? Curiosity opens us to a world of possibilities. Fear closes the door. And with that openness comes not only new experiences, but unexpected seeds of belonging in areas you may have overlooked. Lesson 5. The observer mind. Negative emotions always find a way to take over our minds. The Stoics were not interested in suppressing emotions, but in responding to them wisely. Think of your mind as a room where thoughts like "I don't belong here" are constantly barging in. If you fight them, you give them more energy. But if instead you step back and observe them, something interesting happens. Your thought feels the distinction between being and noticing. So instead of saying "I am a stranger," it evolves into "I realize the thought that I am a stranger." This is the key to emotional freedom. It doesn't mean that feeling alienated will disappear. But you don't get caught in the current of these thoughts and drift helplessly. It is difficult to imagine what it really means to follow thoughts. Think of it this way. Imagine you are at a noisy, chaotic concert. If you are pressed towards the stage, it is very overwhelming. Take a few steps back, find a quieter corner. You can still hear the music, but the intensity is reduced enough for you to savor individual notes or to decide whether this kind of music is appealing or not. Now, the concert is your thoughts and the quiet corner is your observer mindset. Just like when you step back, you have not silenced the music, but you are no longer consumed by it. The next time the wave of "I don't belong here" washes over you, try to go deeper. Notice the physical sensations that accompany it. Is your heart pounding? Is your jaw clenched? Simply acknowledging these bodily cues slightly separates the thinking you from the experiencing you. The Stoics were not interested in pretending that discomfort didn't exist, but in facing it, understanding that their truest essence is not defined by transient sensations. Lesson 6. Embrace your uniqueness. Embracing your uniqueness is scary. To put yourself out there honestly means risking judgment and rejection. But think about which is scarier. A life spent in silence and invisibility, or the discomfort of the possibility of deep connection. The Stoics believed that courage is not the absence of fear, but acting on your values despite fear. Each time you take a risk by being authentically yourself, you prove to yourself that the temporary pain of rejection is far less damaging than the gradual destruction of living inauthentically. Imagine constantly wearing a mask designed to please others. This is extremely exhausting. Hiding your passions, filtering your humor, biting your tongue, these behaviors drain your energy. When you let these aspects of your personality shine, there is a freedom in not having to perform. This energy is then freed up to make real connections with people on the same wavelength. This feeling of ease is not only pleasant, but magnetic. People resonate with sincerity. Being honest with yourself inspires others to do the same. Seeing someone get a weird haircut or openly ramble on about some obscure topic gives us all unspoken permission to do the same. This ripples out, in your group of friends, at work, in your communities. Every act of celebrating your own weirdness makes the world a little more accepting. Think of those who paved the way for you, the artists, writers, or historical figures who refused to conform and in doing so gave others the courage to shine their own unique light. You have the power to be that kind of inspiration for someone else. Lesson 7. The Art of Discernment. Your inner critic may shout, "They didn't mean it that way," or "I'm being too sensitive." These voices trap us in unhealthy patterns. Remember, it is your right to prioritize your emotional well-being. Boundaries are not only about what others do to you, but also about how you allow it to affect you. Every time you honor this inner compass, you train yourself to believe that you deserve respect. At first, this may create feelings of guilt or discomfort. But these feelings diminish over time and are replaced by a sense of inner strength. Not all violations of your boundaries are dramatic. Maybe it's your friend who always cancels plans at the last minute and makes you feel unseen. Or the family member who subtly undermines your achievements. These sneaky behaviors, even if unintentional, undermine your self-esteem and contribute to making you feel like an outcast. The Stoics saw self-esteem as the active maintenance of inner peace. Recognizing the subtle ways in which we allow ourselves to be disrespected gives us the strength to approach them with kindness, but also firmness. Humans are social creatures, and we naturally seek acceptance and approval. But this drive for acceptance can sometimes blind us. If the price of belonging feels like a constant compromise of who you are, if you find yourself tolerating hurtful words or actions just to maintain a connection, this is not belonging, it is self-betrayal. Know non-negotiable boundaries and enforce them with self-respect. This may mean temporary solitude, but it creates space for the growth of authentic connections where you feel safe to be fully yourself. Lesson 8. Find inspiration in nature. Nature constantly reminds us of impermanence. Observe the seasonal changes, how life is renewed even after the harshest winter. Your current feelings of loneliness or wrongness will not last forever. Just as a frozen field blooms in the spring, there is room for transformation and new chapters within you. Potential. The Stoics understood that difficulties have a role. Sometimes what feels like a barren period in our lives becomes the ground from which the strongest, most deeply rooted parts of ourselves emerge. We are constantly bombarded with limited, perfect ideas. Perfect bodies, perfect careers, perfect social lives. Yet the beauty of nature lies in its imperfection, the gnarled branches of ancient trees, the bizarre shapes of seashells, the chaotic yet breathtaking swirl of a galaxy. Allow yourself to be moved by this wild beauty untouched by human standards. Can you apply the same generous perspective to yourself? Could your perceived imperfections actually be aspects of yourself that make you unique, fascinating, and an important part of the breathtaking chaos of life? Consider the vastness of the universe. On a cosmic time scale, our daily worries become less important. This is not to minimize your suffering, but to recognize that you, like everything in the natural world, are subject to fluctuation, growth, and sometimes tumultuous transformations. Just as a storm is essential to the ecosystem as a whole, your struggles add to the fabric of the person you are becoming. Trust that a broader perspective is always available to you, like stepping out of a claustrophobic room into the expansive night sky. Lesson 9. Responsive compassion. Compassion is not only about the act of helping, but also about the transformation that takes place within us. When you reach out with kindness, even in small ways, you interrupt the destructive inner story that nobody cares about me. The action changes the belief, and when you feel a deeper connection with humanity in general, even if you don't expect a direct reciprocation, you can break through that constricting feeling of being a lonely stranger. There is a relaxation. Compassion produces an openness that makes you more receptive to receiving favors as well as giving favors. Volunteering can be daunting if you are deeply struggling yourself. Yet even small actions ripple outward. Smile sincerely at a stressed cashier, leave a generous comment for a struggling small business, hold the door for someone overloaded with packages. When we offer warmth without expecting anything in return, we remind ourselves that we have the power to brighten someone's day. Just as noticing small details in nature inspires wonder, small acts of kindness also dispel the belief that your presence in the world is not important. The Stoics believed that true philosophy is lived practice, not just abstract ideas. Sharing your own vulnerabilities in appropriate spaces, perhaps in a support group, with a trusted friend, strengthens a sense of belonging, recognizing that struggles are not shortcomings, but simply part of the human experience. Similarly, by witnessing the pain of others without judgment, you normalize your own pain. There is a difference between wallowing in pain and accepting it. One leaves you stuck, the other opens a path to healing and community. Lesson 10: The long perspective. Focusing on the impermanence of your feelings does not mean passively waiting for something better to magically appear. You are the author of your own epic journey. Perhaps this period of feeling disconnected is a catalyst for change. You might discover new hobbies, strike up conversations with unexpected connections, or take a step outside your comfort zone by joining a social group that focuses on something that piques your curiosity. Can you throw it away? There is no guarantee of immediate belonging, but action plants the seeds for a flourishing future. Think of historical figures you admire or loved ones who have witnessed your life. Did they only see your current struggle? They probably see your perseverance, the joy you share with others, or the small but impactful ways you touch lives. It's not about numbing your pain. It's about reminding yourself that you are more than this difficult moment. Even a small vibration of gratitude for your health, a beautiful piece of music, the unconditional love of a pet, can shift your focus slightly and create fertile ground for optimism even in difficult times. Life is full of surprises, good and bad. Trying to plan and control every social outcome is bound to lead to disappointment. But perhaps hidden gifts lie within this present loneliness. A push towards greater self-confidence, an appreciation for those true connections when they blossom, or an unexpected passion that ignites in solitude. Try framing this feeling not as a permanent exile, but as the messy beginning of a chapter you haven't yet written. A pinch of curiosity about the future can exist alongside the pain of the present. Now let's go a little further and look at some practical tips I have prepared for you. Identify your non-negotiable values. Any crowd can feel alien when we are not clear about what is really important to us. What gives you meaning? Is it honesty? Is it kindness? Creativity? These are your guiding stars. Find your peers, even in small ways. Not everyone fits in with a big crowd. Perhaps it is your ideal to connect deeply with two kindred souls instead of hundreds of shallow ones. Look for groups based on your interests, your passions, the causes you believe in. Even online communities can provide a lifeline. Be authentic, remember. This is also a filter. If you try to fit in by imitating others, you will never attract those who resonate with your true self. Don't dim your light for anyone. Your authentic self may not resonate with everyone, and that's how it should be. Contribute and serve. One of the fastest ways to feel part of something is to be generous with your time, skills, and compassion. Remember, feeling like you don't belong is a painful universal part of the human experience. It is normal to crave connection and to want to be accepted. Allow the wisdom of the stock people and other wise people to give you courage. Cultivate inner peace through acceptance, service, and focus on virtue. Be patient on your journey towards true connections. The feeling of alienation will not last forever. Remember the powerful words of Seneca. Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. Extend this kindness to yourself as you move forward. The road may be difficult. Not all days will be filled with a bright sense of belonging. But as Dostoevsky reminds us, within your difficulties lies growth. With every tool you use, with every discomfort you face, you create a brighter future for yourself. I admire your courage. May the wisdom of the stock people light your path. Create deep connections wherever life takes you, and above all, discover your own magnificent belonging in this wild and wonderful world. Thank you for joining me on this exploration today. I hope you found this video useful and learned something new. Share your thoughts on this in the comments below. And always remember, there is a place for you in the world, even if it is not immediately obvious. Stay strong, be kind to yourself, and until next time, take care, be a Stoicist and stay happy.